Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, and I'm here to help you reach your potential as a leader and a human being. Welcome to Remarkable TV and the Remarkable Leadership Podcast. Today, I'm asking you an important question. How can you achieve greater influence? Are you ready? Let's get started. How can I be more influential, Kevin? I get asked that question all the time. It isn't always asked that way, but I get asked by all sorts of people all the time, how can I be more influential? As a leader, leaders ask me this question. They're basically saying, they often are saying things like, how do I motivate my team? How do I empower my team? But fundamentally, they're asking questions about influence. I get asked by new leaders. I used to be their peer and now I'm their boss. I used to have a cup of coffee with them and now I have to do their performance review. How do I be influential in my role as a leader? And I get asked by everybody, how do I influence up? How do I influence my boss? How do I manage up? How do I have influence when I don't have position? So people ask me all of the time about these things, and they're asking me for tools, techniques, and approaches. There's nothing wrong with tools, techniques, and approaches. I can share those with you, but there's a couple of problems that we need to get to, a couple of perspectives we need to understand before we can get to tools, techniques, and approaches. And it starts because people are asking kind of the wrong question. They're focused on position rather than people. Did you notice that? As I talked about leaders and new leaders and managing up, we're talking about position. Based on my position, how do I influence? But you see, it isn't really about position, although that matters. It's part of the context. Here's the truth. Influence is an interpersonal activity. Influence is about the other person and how can I help them see something differently? How can I help them make a new choice, see or think differently? So we can do all of those things, right? We can talk about tools, techniques, and approaches, but we can't start there. There's two things that must come first. And number one is you must realize that you have influence. Every human has influence. My initial question was, how can you have greater influence? Which means you've got some, it's not zero. We must realize that we can influence. There's no guarantee that what we do will work. We don't have control, but we have influence. That's the first thing we must realize. And then secondly, and super importantly here, you must focus on your audience before your objective. Let me say that again. You must focus on your audience before your objective. Most people say, I want people to do this. How do I get people to do this? Who are the people? Who is the person? What are their interests? What are their goals? What are their objectives? How do you tie what you want to accomplish to what they want to accomplish? That's where influence begins, right? It's not first about what you want. It's about who you're working with. Who are you trying to influence so that it can be something that's mutually beneficial? Because once they see benefit, they are far, 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 far more likely to be in, right? You have influence. You can have more influence, and you must focus on your audience before what you want to influence, right? If you get those two things right, you'll be more successful. You'll have greater influence. Let me close with today's tweet. Everyone is influential. The key to greater success starts with understanding those you want to influence. Influence is an important topic. Influence is a valuable skill for all of us in our lives and certainly in our working life. That's why we've created a brand new masterclass all about being more influential as a leader specifically, but for any of us and all of us. We'll talk about tools, techniques, and approaches, but we'll talk more about the things we talked about here as well. Where to start, how to be successful, all in this newest of our Remarkable Masterclasses. You can learn more by going to remarkablemasterclass.com about this and all of our other masterclasses. Hope you'll do that. I also hope you'll be back here with me next week right here for another episode of Remarkable TV and the Remarkable Leadership Podcast.